Hey gang, little walkabout today. We are at St. Patrick number 1. Why aren't we at Metairie? Why aren't we at St. Louis number 1? Why are we not at Greenwood? Because we've done it already 2 years ago. I put the links in, a whole bunch of stuff. So now we're going a little bit deeper, a little off the beaten path. So I thought I'd just do a little walk around here. Haven't been in here, have not scouted it out, as I always say, taking you guys along. The cities of the dead. The cities of the dead under siege from the United States Air Force. Yeah. Well, I talked about when we came here 2 years ago, I talked all about a lot of the, I'll refresh some of the things we talked about. Why the graves are like this, why they're all above ground, things that happen, why this cemetery's here along with some of the others. Well, to start with, you have the flooding, you have the water level, you know, we're at sea level, and of course back then the slightest rain or storm surge of any kind, this place would be underwater. Coffins would come up and float around. So everything pretty much, and today still has to be above ground. Here again, as I've talked about, these are step graves. I don't know how deep they actually are. It's one thing I would like to figure out, if anybody knows in comments. How deep are the remains buried here? And I'm guessing not too deep, right? There's a Woodman of the World statue. We see lots of those. And you see how the names start and they go down. What's a good example here? I mean, this is not the best example, but, and we'll just keep walking. But you'll see these small crypts, and then you'll see several names, pretty much the whole family buried together. Some of them have 10, 20 people. How do you do that? Well, the year and a day thing, we talked about it at Metairie. Basically, the remains are put in there and cook in the hot summer and humidity, and the insects, and they're pretty much reduced after a year in the day. And then they're pushed back, or they're taken away in sacks, and the next person is put in. I'm guessing on the family ones that they probably remain in place until the next family member dies, and then they're pushed back, shoved back. There's like a slot in the back where they go down to a pile in many cases. But yeah, these cemeteries here, the yellow fever, 1878, really went on until the turn of the century, until the cures were found. And it just wiped out so many people. In 1878, it was so bad, there were just bodies stacked in the street. When I did the St. Louis number 1 cemetery tour, I talked a lot about that. The bottle flies, the stench, the stink, the biles, the bodies piled up like cordwood, rotting garbage in the streets. It was just a horrendous scene. And a lot of these cemeteries here, the St. Louis cemeteries that follow this cemetery, they didn't have anywhere to bury all these people all at once. So they just sprung up. Now this is Archdiocese. St. Patrick, St. Louis. Crumbling away, look at that. Some are under perpetual care, which means they're taken care of, and some are not. I know when I went, I think, yeah, across the street from here, if you come here, straight over there, that's Greenwood, which is I did an episode there, it's unbelievable. And there are several plots there, step graves and other things that are just, you know, look like the hurricane hit and they got slammed and broken apart like a castle under siege, and they remain that way, still like that. They're not under perpetual care, and of course, as I always say, after 2 generations, 3 generations, 90% are forgotten. Well, their graves aren't visited by any ancestors, and they're definitely not maintained. And if you don't believe me, let's go look around. Look at all of these. Now, I believe Metairie is across the highway there. I'm gonna go and do a live stream there after this. Look at this one's partially, stones are all pushed over to the right. Let's walk back this way. It's interesting, the oak trees here, you see one over there way in the distance, they're so different than Illinois. They spread out, they don't grow nearly as tall. Just interesting how climate affects things. Here's a young person, Ariel Berry, 1991 to 2008. So she is not forgotten. I love these old marble monuments. Now that's the first time I've seen that type of Elizabeth Farrell. Is that a lamb? Asleep or slain? I don't know. You can read the inscriptions. It's a magnificent marble monument there. Tombstone, if you will. Look at the church steeples. A lot of history here, a lot of very 1800 architecture. All that wrought iron, those balconies. Here's a good example of what I was talking about, of the many, many people that are buried in one crypt. Hankins. Died 1926, 57 years old. Then you have 1932. Then you have 1943, Mary Grace Hankins. 67, 94, 97, 2000, and 2021. Bernard. That's a good example. They're doing pressure washing here. And I'll tell you what, if you are buried in the Catholic cemeteries, you can be assured you're not going to see much vandalism, and you are going to see manicured upkeep. That's why I think I want to be buried in a Catholic cemetery. Even though I was raised Catholic and I don't practice it, they really take care of their cemeteries, and I think they're going to be around for a while. All good. Here's a beautiful vault. Comfort. With the tombstone bedded right in the concrete. Look at that. And we have the Kennedys, not JFK. Here's one you wonder if this is recent. 2008, not that recent. Here, sadly, is a broken monument, and this is what I was talking about. They don't have perpetual care. Just like I've seen with the porcelains that come off, they're just laid down next to where they fell. Very sad. The last person on that stone, it looks like 1956, Ignatius Real. Different last name. Different last name. You know, it's amazing if you think about it. All those people, they're all buried here, which is about 6 feet wide, if that. That would be a regular cemetery, 2 people. I wonder how they're buried, if they're stacked or cooked and then bones, or maybe cremains. What do you guys think? How are they laid out in these steps? These stepped configuration. It almost reminds me of a medieval castle that's crumbling away after the dragons came. Look at that. No perpetual care there. We'll walk to the front. Getting close now. Sometimes you think the best sculptures and the families that had more money are always near the front, right? Or the interments that happened, the first interments. When you first come here, you're in awe, and you're like, holy cow, because it's so different. But then you kind of get used to it. The way these are all designed. they start to look the same. It's a veteran, William Brown. Passed in 1967. He served in World War I. Thank you, William, for your sacrifices. Look at them. These are massive. It's hard to describe. There are a lot of people buried here. I mean, if you just take a look at the inscriptions here in this one. They go down, let's see, from, well, 1873 to 1909. Another veteran of World War I. You know, I take that back. That's not Greenwood across the street. Greenwood is right here nearby. It's another, I think it's another Archdiocese cemetery straight across there. It has the same sculptures and entryway. They're neat. They're little houses, right? They're like little houses. Here's an interesting monument. Beautiful. Look, you have steps greeting you to come up. And then you have this beautiful monument here. I'll zoom in on the inscriptions. Arthur Macaulay up there, erected by him. All right, my friends, that is going to do it for this mission. Stay with me, we're going to keep going here. More to follow.